Right, let's get into the main topic for tonight, what we're really here for. So let me go and share my presentation screen again. Maybe that one there. All right. Okay, so speaker tonight, that's me. Topic tonight is 7 steps to get your business VA ready and hire right from the get-go. So in terms of handling questions, probably the easiest way at this stage here, if you do have a question, just drop it into the chat box. I'll keep an eye on that there. Some of them it might be worth calling out, and we'll discuss it on the way through. I've got a heap to get through tonight. We're certainly not going to cover everything about virtual assistants and that whole process, but I'm going to give a reasonably good overview, and if there are questions there that are relevant and pertinent that are going to help, then I'll try and cover those at the same time as well, and of course we'll have some questions at the end as well. So just to give you a bit about my background with VAs, I started with VAs back in around about 2008, 2009. And that was for building a personal website of my own. I hired a chap from India who has got a company over there. That company is still going today. So and for my first website over here, they did a great job. And I didn't have a web development business back then. But then over the process, well, that's great. You know, if I can hire someone to build websites for me, then I can go and sell websites to clients. We can get an outsourcer to build them, and we can create a good business. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work like that. It was an absolute disaster. Communication was a problem. My expectations were a real problem, and really probably the biggest issue of it all is that, one, I really didn't know what I was doing when I started out. What I mean by that is I didn't quite know how to put a website together. I definitely wasn't really a coder, and I didn't understand some of the strategies behind website as well. So I expected the outsourced company to know all of that stuff and to deliver me a finished product. So if you're hoping to get a finished product delivered and that they do all the thinking for you, that's a recipe for disaster. So I had about 3 years of going through that, trying to work out why it wasn't working, and it really because I didn't have a lot of clarity about it. So, but then as I started to unpack and unravel that, one of the things I did do was I learned how to code. So I spent a lot of time building websites, learning how to code, and that gave me a real understanding as to what goes into the business. So regardless of what your business is, you need to know the fundamentals in behind it. So if you're an accountant, for instance, you need to know how to do, I would assume, you need to know how to do tax returns, and you need to know how to read numbers so you can give advice for businesses. You can't sort of outsource that sort of stuff. There are parts of it you can outsource, but you need to have a good understanding of it to start off with. So that's really the first thing, and there's a real difference between what would you call it, delegation and abdication. So what I see quite a lot of the time is that people talk about delegating tasks to someone else to do to help in their business, but what they really do is they just are abdicating their responsibility by saying, you do this, I don't want to know anything about it, it's not a job that I enjoy, it's not something I really know, just do it. And so there's no real accountability, and it's abdicating it to someone else to do to try and get it right. No guidance, no training, and that there is a recipe for disaster. Whereas delegation, true delegation, is you keep the responsibility of the job, you hand over the doing of the task to someone else, you've got accountabilities back and forth to check that the job is being done right. If there are any issues or any problems or any misunderstandings or any training needed, you're able to jump in there to help guide your staff member, because essentially that's what your VA is a staff member, to get it right. And then as they start to develop competence in the task, then you can start to hand over the responsibility for it. So that is really fundamental to it. But you do need to know your business first, so that you know what you're delegating across. So, but recently, like I probably over the last 4 or 5 years, I have built at the peak there, we had seven of us on the team, and I can step away from the business. Like every Friday, I take Friday off. That's my day off. And I have to say, it's a decision. If you're going to take a day off, it's a decision. It just doesn't happen. I decided I was going to take Friday off, first of all, for business development. So that was my business development day where I worked on the business and not in it. So I wasn't doing any client work at that point there. It really just was doing things like, what's the next thing that I can delegate away? What are some processes I can create that people can follow? And then I can outsource that or delegate it off to someone else. But these days, Friday is golf day. So I go and play golf on Friday, and it really just is a day off. The great thing about it is that while I'm on the golf course, I know the business is running because I have people in the business here that take care of stuff. They know what they're doing. They're very competent. They've got responsibilities in areas that I don't even know what they're doing. They're just good at what they do, and they just do it. And means I can step away from the business and recharge and do what a business should do. A business is there to deliver you a lifestyle. It's not there for you to put all of your life into the business. So, but it is a decision, and when you make the decision, sometimes it's hard. You get sucked back into the business. You get a client phone call that brings you in, sort of thing. You really do just need to sort of set some boundaries and make that decision. And after a while, you can start to do that. My next one is to drop back another week. If I can drop back another week, that gives me some more time to sort of think about other directions, other development, and whatever. So so I've been in the working with VAs for about 10 years or so. So let's just ask this question: why hire a VA? So let's just get some answers here as to why you'd want to hire a VA. So feel free to unmute yourself and just tell us why, or drop it into chat. So leverage, yeah. So leveraging yourself.
Aldrin here, Nick.
Yes,
it
Aldrin.
frees up your time and allows you to focus on tasks where you're in flow.
Yep.
Rather than things where you're going to get stuck.
Absolutely, yeah. That freeing up time is a big thing. So freeing up time is better than making more money, because if you can free up your time, it's easy to make more money because you've now got more time to dedicate to new products, services, add-ons, whatever it is you're doing. But if you can free up time, that's your biggest resource. So lessen your admin workload. Okay, so admin, absolutely. Peter Stewart, yes, do the mundane jobs. And we'll talk about that because that's really important too. Expertise. What do you mean by expertise, David?
You can hire a VA that has a skill in an area that you don't have.
Good. Okay, yep, so you're tapping into their particular expertise. Good, okay. All right, so yes, so it's all of those things there, but for me, just think about time. If you can do things to save time, that's your first point to start with it.
I think that's more specific time too, isn't it? Like when you have a skill set, your specific skill set inside of your business. If you delegate a task to somebody else, you can focus on what you're good at inside your business and use that time the way you started out and where you needed it before you had the business that required the back end.
Yep, absolutely. Because as business owners, we've all got a skill or a profession or an expertise. That's what we went into business for, I presume, to deliver it better than everyone else. We've got a passion for that there. But we find that business has got a whole lot of other aspects to it. You've got your admin, your finance, you've got staff. So there's a whole lot of other things that come around with the business. And so it's easy to get spend a whole lot of time on the other stuff in the business and not on your core skill. So the more you can work on your core skill, generally the more profitable you're going to be because you're working on the thing that makes you the money. Allows you to focus on the high value tasks or the tasks you enjoy doing. Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Cliff. All right, so just to get a bit of an idea about your experience with VAs, if you've currently got a VA or you've used VAs in the past, just type yes in the chat, just so I know. Okay, so it's a couple of yeses, no, yes, yes. Yep, good, okay. All right, no, I can't work out what I could actually outsource them. Okay, that's a good point there, Victoria. Thank you. Kylie, 2 full-time, great. Roby, yep, 1 at the moment. Working on mine, Robert, yeah, great. Okay, so we've got a range of experience. Some have had them, some. Who here has had VAs in the past and it's been a really bad experience? Hasn't been a great experience. Just put your hand up so I can see. Great. Okay. So I had to say that that's part of the journey, and hopefully tonight starts to make it look like or help you to develop it into a better experience. So the first thing I'd say about that is that the responsibility for your VA is you. If anything's going wrong, generally look to yourself first and not to the VA. More times than not, when I have chatted to people that have had a poor experience, generally is one of 2 things has happened. One is that there's been poor communication. So jobs have been handed over, but there really just hasn't been a lot of communication, and or secondly, it just hasn't really been well defined. In the rarest of cases, probably not the rarest, but the minority of cases, it's generally the skill of the person that is the outsourcer. They just haven't really been up to the task. So there are definitely some there that just haven't worked out because they're not up to the task. So, but most of the time, look to yourself first and look at what could I do better? How could I communicate better? Did I sort of give enough instructions? Do we need any training? That's the first thing there. So, and one thing I would say to you, a lot of people talk about giving out all of the jobs that they don't like. They'll get someone else to do all the jobs they don't like. Basically, they're the shit jobs. So the stuff they don't want to do, they want to get someone else to do it, and that's generally not a great way to start for 2 reasons. One is that the jobs that you don't want to do, they may be stuff that really don't need to be done. So you need to prioritise and say, actually, does it really need to be done? Does it need to be done now? And is it something that's costing you money or making you money? Now, one of the best things you can do is, and I did this for 2 weeks, is to grab a sheet of paper and have it sitting on your desk. I'm talking about a sheet of paper. Don't use an app or anything like that. Just a bit of paper. Jot down every single job that you do in your business. Just jot it on the paper there. Put beside it how long you spent on it. And then when it comes to the end of the week or the end of the day, assign a dollar value to each of those jobs. And you've got 3 values. One's $10, one's $100, and one's $500. So and that dollar value is what's that job worth? Could you hire someone to do it for $10 an hour? Or is it a job that you'd have to hire someone for $100 an hour? Or is it a job that you have to hire that you'd really be hiring someone for $500 an hour? Generally, $500 an hour jobs are jobs that you do. They're the reason for your business's existence. The $10 jobs, those are ones to start looking at to say, look, could I get someone else to do it? So if you think about a VA, those are the ones that you start to think about how do you outsource that there. And then you'll eventually move through to the $100 jobs where you've got team members that will handle those ones. But let's just these are a couple of my team members here, and they're working in my business. We've got Lorena and we've got JM. So they're actually on the call with us today. They're the people that are on my team that are responsible for marketing what we do here tonight, and they get all of the stuff out on Facebook. And for some of you, they've responded to and chatted with you. So I thought what it might be good to do is just have a chat to them about their experience as a VA. So let's stop the share here, and let's bring them onto screen.
Nick, just quickly, Nick, before you move on from here and we pull them in, at what point do you trust somebody with that job as far as business security goes? Because if somebody's representing your business, they could do your business, your damage to your brand, like just how your business operates. How do you get around that? That's my biggest issue, delegating a task to somebody and not getting a kickback that's wrong. And I've had bad experience with it.
You've had a bad experience with it already?
Oh, shit, yeah, mate. Yeah, full on, a lot of it, yeah. But I'm finding it really hard. But I'm at a point now where I'm working 20-odd hours a day consistently, 7 days a week, and I have to start doing it. So it's imperative that I do it, but how do I overcome this challenge?
Good question. That is a really good question, and I'll talk about that. So I'll cover that a bit later on.
Okay, mate.
So just hang on to that and make sure that I cover that, because that is an important question. All right, so what we'll do is, I've just lost all my questions here. I can't see it. So we've got Lorena and JM. So maybe, Lorena, do you just want to sort of introduce yourself and tell us what you were doing before, before you became a VA?
Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. Before I chose to be a VA, I used to work as a full-time office employee at a Nissan car service center. I also worked part-time as an English tutor for Koreans who lived here in Davao. I am a teacher by profession, but I was not able to apply in schools because I started working in an office early. So I decided to work as a VA because my brother, who is a web developer, encouraged me to apply online and try it out, since there are lots of reasons for me to choose to work as a VA rather than stick to my old or previous job.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And what have been the biggest benefits or biggest advantages of working as a VA over having a traditional job?
I think the biggest advantage would be is the flexibility in terms of time, because as soon as I get up in the morning, I can right away check my emails. I don't need to travel in going to the office, so there's no more heavy traffic for me. And while I'm working, I can also watch over my kids, supervise, look at them, while my mom also takes care of them. So it's really a benefit when it comes to an advantage when it comes to time and being more productive, since there's no travel time for me, and I don't need to get dressed up in office suits, so I can work right away.
Except for today, you had to get dressed up for today.
Yeah.
Awesome. And JM, I should say Lorena, she's her and I have been working together for about 8 years now. So
Yes,
so it's been a long time. So, and you've been through all the terrible times with me as well as sort of
No.
the good times.
No terrible time.
So Lorena lives right down the very south end of Philippines, down at a city called Davao, and I visited there I think it was about 2 years ago, wasn't it?
September 2018.
Yeah, so it was about now, 2018.
Yeah.
So JM, tell us about what you were doing before you became a VA and why you chose to be a VA.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is JM. I am very happy to virtually meet you all tonight. Okay. So before I am working in a hotel as a receptionist, and why did I choose to be a VA? Because here in the Philippines, traffic is one of the biggest problems. So um, I tried to apply as a VA so I can still earn money and while working at home. So that's it.
So that's not unlike a lot of us here who are working from home as well too. So, and those that haven't been to the Philippines, traffic's pretty awful. So sometimes it can take you 2 hours to travel what takes us, 15 minutes. So it is a real issue.
Yes.
All right. So, so worst experience. So this is where we sort of peel off the band-aid. Like I've heard from lots of people in Australia that they've had poor experiences with VAs. But what's your worst experiences working with as a VA with people?
Well, my worst experience before is somebody hired me for a week and fired me after that without any explanation, any reasons.
So they hired you for a week and then just fired you, and no reason,
No reasons, yeah.
no idea. Yep, yep. Lorena?
As for me, before I was hired by Nick, I was employed by a man from UK, and before during the interview already I mentioned to him that I am not proficient in WordPress, but then the first task that he gave me was adding products in his e-commerce website, and something like changing the codes or the header or the footer. And at that time I was not really I was not too proficient when it comes to the technical, or not too, I don't have much knowledge in the technical aspect of WordPress. So I had to ask help from my brother who is a web developer, and also my ask help from my friends. I tried to Google for information, but but it was very daunting. So I told my boss that I am not really, I cannot do the task that he gave me, and I think that he needs to hire a web developer for that. And fortunately, he hired someone else, and I still worked for him, but only in the social media aspect of his business.
Mm.
So
Excellent, excellent. So,
yeah.
So a couple of things there, like a classic thing there with outsourcing that I see quite often is that people will hire a VA, and then they'll ask them to do jobs that they're not competent for or not trained to do. So there's this thing over in the Philippines they call the super VA. So that's where a business owner over here goes to hire a VA, and they've looked at the CV, they've looked at the jobs that they can do, their skills and talents, and then they go and ask them to do the things that are not on their job list or not on their talent list. And so they expect them to be a web designer, graphic designer, social media manager, copywriter, video editor, all of these sort of things. And if you can imagine if that was you in that position, it just provides an enormous amount of stress and angst at not being able to do it. So that there is a thing to remember here is there are no super VAs, and that you need to hire for sort of the skills and look at the skills that they can do, just not throw everything at them. And on the other thing too, they're people. So when you're hiring people from overseas, like in the Philippines, they're real people. So you can't just hire them and then sort of decide a week later to get rid of them. These are human beings that have got families to feed. They've got, they're on their, a business development or career development path for themselves too. And being a VA is a career. It's not just a hobby or a job or something they do on the side. It is a career as well. And people give up their professions in order to be VAs as well. So some people that I know that are VAs are, as Lorena said, she was a teacher. There are architects, there are doctors, there are nurses, highly qualified people that come through to you. Most of them are university educated. All right. So JM, what's the favourite thing? What's the thing that you most enjoy about being a virtual assistant?
Well, I don't have to fix myself before going to work. All I need is a cup of coffee and I'm ready to go.
Same as me. Excellent. And Lorena?
And so what I've mentioned before, I think it's the flexibility in terms of time, because I can work right away, and then there is no need for me to travel and go into the office, and then of course, I am a working mom, so I can still watch over my kids and supervise them while I'm working. I'm oh yes, that's it again, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Yeah, so you've got three kids, so
Yes,
we've got flexibility there. Lorena takes her kids to school and goes to school, festivals and whatever as well. So it's good flexibility, isn't it?
yes, Nick.
And one piece of advice you would give people here when they're hiring VAs, what would your one piece of advice be?
For me,
VAs. Oh, sorry.
okay, okay, go ahead.
Okay,
You could,
VAs can't read minds. So if you're giving instructions to your VA, make it precise and brief.
so you're not a mind reader.
Yes.
Excellent. Lorena?
I think for me, the most important or the advice that I can give is for clients or employers to be really clear. Um, when you interview an applicant, I think you should be clear as to what are your expectations from them and what task are you going to give. So if you think the VA has a huge potential, and if you're willing to provide them with training videos that can help them improve or improve or acquire more skills, then I think that would be better. Um, and as soon as you hire them, it's also important for you to communicate with them. Like with me and Nick, we communicate frequently, and I never hesitated to ask him questions. So I don't pretend to know things that are new to me, and I always ask Nick. I try to ask, I try to Google for information, but if I cannot find the right information, Nick points me to the right direction. So I think communication is really important.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Excellent. And Moana just asked, does it help to have a video to show them? I think Lorena's just answered that. Absolutely. If you can record videos and screencasts and all those sort of things, that really, really, really does help. Excellent. That's my team. You've met two of my team, and I think James, you've been with us for what, almost 3 years now, haven't you?
Definitely.
Yeah, so 3 years and 8 years. So longevity is a really important thing when you're hiring someone. Just like hiring staff over here in Australia and New Zealand, you don't want to hire today and fire tomorrow. Longevity is really important because what you develop is your company history, company memory, and sort of systems and processes and procedures that they become really competent at. And both James and Lorena are really competent at what they do, but it's not something that happened straight away. It was something that is just really developed over time. Just like any person, the competency just develops over time. Communication is really important. So one of the things I would say, if you do hire VAs, do what you'd normally do in an office. So we say good morning every morning. Really simple thing. We use Slack as a communication tool, which is a bit like Skype. But every morning we come on. So good morning. How's your day been? How's your night been? And at the end of the day, we say goodbye. So they're just sort of simple, common courtesies that really, you would do with anybody in an office as well. So just because they're overseas doesn't mean that your courtesies disappear because you can't see them. That makes sense? All right, so time differences, yeah, good thing. So I've worked in across a number of countries. The reason why I chose Philippines now is that Philippines is 2 hours ahead of my time zone. If you're in Western Australia, it's the same time zone. I think New Zealand's about 3 hours, or depending on daylight savings, 3 or 4 hours difference there. So I get into work at, I'm generally in my office at about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And they start at 10 o'clock my time, which is 8 o'clock their time. So time-wise, it works really well. Okay, VAs, part-time VAs. All right. So Stephen, that's a good question about having a part-time VA. I've got some advice about that as well too. Now, Lorena started part-time for me. We met each other through an agency. I'm not sure. Were you working for anyone else at the time you were working for me at the beginning, Lorena, or was it just me?
It was just it was just unique.
It was just me. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So that's a unique case, and that's a good case. but and probably worked for you because you were a stay-at-home mum, right?
Yes, Nick.
Yeah. So, but as much as possible, don't hire part-time unless you can get that person exclusively, because what happens is if you hire a VA part-time, then they've got to make up the rest of their income by working another part-time. So they've got two bosses. They've got you and they've got somebody else. And so what can happen is that you can be developing a relationship and really getting along well, but the other person that's hiring them, they might have a louder voice than you, and so the person that screams the loudest gets all the attention. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. So and so at some point, that person might decide that the business is going really well. They want to hire full time. So all of a sudden, the VA that you've been working with for the past year or so has to make a decision, and they're going with a person that can hire them full time. You've just lost that person, and you've got to start the process all over again. So as much as possible, hire full time, or unless you can get someone that is like Lorena was, who's a stay-at-home mum that only wants that part-time. Because remember, it's for the long term. All right, so there's a whole lot of questions coming through. Okay. All right. And the other thing I should say about part-time, this comes down to money as well too. So you can hire, I'm not quite sure sort of what the lowest is in say Philippines at the moment, but you can hire people for the equivalent of $4 or $5 or $6 an hour in Australia, which the equivalent is that if you hired someone over here, in terms of the economy, standard of living, that sort of thing, that equates to a what would you call it? Someone that's on maybe $20 or $30 an hour here. So that's the sort of differential there. And then, but so that's where you're starting. If you're hiring people that for specific skills, like let's say web developers, graphic designers, then you're not going to be starting that level there. Video editors, you're going to be starting high. So you may be paying sort of like $10 an hour for someone with some quite specific skills there. So don't scrimp on payment, but pay what a market rate is for in the country you're outsourcing to. The other thing too is if you're thinking about hiring part-time or full-time and it's a financial issue, then the difference really is $100 a week versus $50 a week. So $50 a week, it's worth actually spending the $100 a week to get that full-time hours. And some people are hiring sort of only part-time because they think they haven't got enough work. I guarantee you hire full-time, the work will be there. So you will find things for them to do, and very quickly there will be things that you're currently doing at the moment that they will pick up and do, and you will free up so much more time, so much more quickly. What sort of things do Lorena and JM do? Lorena and JM, do you want to answer that? Just tell us what you do.
Yeah. I work on Nick's social media accounts. I also handle his email accounts, and then I used to create blog posts for Nick's website, our old website, and then I also post on different social media accounts. When there are times when Nick makes me handle our client's website, like adding products or images or some sort a little bit of WordPress task.
Yep, and Lorena also writes content for me too. So I write the copy, don't you?
Yes, Nick.
Yep. Yeah, so a lot of the social media posts and all that sort of thing, they're her words. So, and I think you've got a dictionary of Nick sayings, haven't you?
You can say that again.
You've got a dictionary of the way I say things. So what happened at the very beginning was that Lorena would ask me, she might write something, and then she'd ask me and say, would you use this word? Would you say things this way here? And so we'd have a
Yes.
conversation between what's an Australian way
Yes.
of saying things versus a
Yeah.
Filipino way. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to know how the tone of Nick's voice, like how he writes. So I try to copy how he writes or responds to emails and comments on social media.
So she was really proactive about that there. JM, what do you do?
Okay, I'm the graphic designer of our team, Nick, and I'm also for social media posting and any task you want me to do. Yes.
And and are you reasonably busy?
Sorry?
Do you keep busy?
Yes, Nick.
Yeah, they both kept pretty busy. All right. Who pays them and how? I pay them. We use PayPal for payments because in the Philippines I can pay by PayPal here. They've got instant access to take it out straight away. Tax-wise, there's no tax, there's no PAYG or anything like that there, PAYE. And any tax in the Philippines, they're responsible for their own tax, just like a contractor or, over here. But from our side of things, we just pay the full amount. There is one thing to be aware of, that in the Philippines, when people are employed, there's a thing called the 13th month. So at the end of the year, like generally over Christmas time, it's I think it's law over there that an employer's got to pay them the 13th month, so an extra month's salary for which really covers holidays and all that sort of thing there. So that's the thing. Now you don't have to do that. That's law over there, but you can do that. Do they give you an invoice? Generally, I track. They track the time. I use a tool called Toggle, Toggl, and that's how we track the time. So it's toggl.com. They both Lorena and JM log onto that, and I do that sometimes too, and it tracks all of the time that they're on online and working, and that's what I use for the payment. So there's no invoice. We just use that time tracking system. There's another way that you can do it too. Is you can either pay just a salary, like a weekly salary, or you can do it on a time base. Can you claim their payment as a GST exempt business cost? Absolutely not. There's no GST on it. So, but look, it doesn't matter anyway, because what you get back on GST is not going to be much anyway. TransferWise to transfer money. Yeah, TransferWise. I've got TransferWise accounts as well too for transferring money. Definitely a way better exchange rate. Not quite sure about sort of the accessibility of it from Philippines, but worth sort of investigating. Probably something I should ask JM and Lorena about. But PayPal is convenient. Everyone's got a PayPal account over there, so that's quite convenient. You do get stung a bit on the exchange rate, but again, it's just the cost of doing business. Okay. All right, let me just get back to. I'm not going to get to cover everything tonight. Someone asked about security. I think that was.
Yeah, that was me, mate.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I want to know
security,
about confidentiality as well.
confidentiality. Okay. So your starting point for this with VAs is that they're there to do a job, and they're generally just like us. There is. Most of the time, they're as trustworthy as we are. So confidentiality and trust is really important. But there are some tools out there to help you. First thing is that, one, they live in the Philippines, so they're not likely to come in and take all of your clients. So, and come and work in Australia. So you really don't have that issue like you do with employees over here. If you hire an employee over here or a contractor here, yes, they can come and steal your clients and take them away and set up their own business, and that's a real risk over here. But it's not a risk for people working in the Philippines because, they really don't know anyone over here, and they're not going to set up business over here. Really hard to market into Australia from the Philippines to take all of your clients. The other thing in terms of tools for security, you can we use LastPass. So LastPass.com is a password manager which allows us to share passwords and logins sort of securely. without you necessarily having to pass over your passwords to them. Now, I don't have too much of a problem with giving passwords to my team, because we've been around long enough, we know each other, and have developed that a level of trust there. That's all good. But at the early stages where you're just checking each other out, and you're not sure whether it's going to work out, and it's in that honeymoon phase, then using a tool like LastPass is really good. Kylie uses 1Password, which is another one which is similar as well too. The advantages of it are, apart from the obvious security advantages, they don't get to see your password. They just click on a link and log in. And if it doesn't work out and you part ways, then you just unshare them from LastPass, and they no longer have access to your accounts. The other thing too is that sometimes you need to change your passwords on a regular basis. So a convenience thing is using LastPass. As soon as you save those passwords, the changed passwords, into the app, then your VAs have still got access to it. They're not asking you for the new passwords and the changed passwords. So from a productivity point of view, it's a lot more productive to use a tool like that. And the other thing too is sometimes get asked about contracts and signing non-disclosure agreements and all of those things to keep information safe and secure. We don't bother about that because again, it's been a thing that that sort of level of trust just keeps developing as we've gone along. So there's really been no need for NDAs because we just don't have IP that any of my VAs in the past are going to access. I have to say, I've had a couple of bad experiences where when we weren't using LastPass, the VAs, one of the VAs went through and hacked a whole lot of websites that we had under management. So that was not a great situation. Had I used LastPass, we could have cut that in the or nipped it in the bud so pretty quickly by just removing access and fixed up the passwords that were an issue. So that was actually a company over in India that we'd hired, and they got the shits one day, and that's what they did. So look, that's no different. That's also no different to over in Australia. You've got people that are dishonest in Australia who will do things like that as well too. So, but for the most part, most people don't do it, and it's the same in the Philippines. Most people don't do it. But one thing I would say is that when you're starting out, a relationship is built. So you're not going to give everything over to people to start with. You're going to build that relationship and build that level of trust as you go along. What else have we got? Project management, assigning and managing tasks. All right, what I'll do, let me, in terms of all these questions, I'll come back to one thing first, and that is how do you prepare for a VA? Most people, a lot of people say, look, I'd like to get a VA. I'm not quite sure where to start. But I'm committed to the process, so I'll go and get a VA. They go to a jobs board like possibly Upwork or jobs.ph, and they start recruiting. That's the worst place to start because you're starting at the end of the process. The start of your process is to work out in your business what is it you need to focus on to outsource. Now let me just share my screen, and I'll just bring up the blueprint that I have for getting your business ready to outsource. Okay, and it's this here. There are three main things to consider when you're outsourcing. First thing is your business. So is your business ready to have another staff member come in, whether that be an internal, like a staff member here or a staff member overseas? Is it ready? So what I mean by that is, are there tasks there that you can clearly identify that you could get someone else to do or train someone else to do? Second thing is, are you prepared to put the time and energy into training someone to do it? There is an investment in time and energy to train people to to become a VA, so you really do need to invest that time and energy into it. And as I said before, the best way to start to identify some of those tasks is to write down over a 2-week period, everything you do. And when I say everything, absolutely everything you do. It sounds like a tedious thing to do, but you sort of get into a rhythm. After about 2 weeks, you get sick of it. So that's why I say only do it for 2 weeks. But you'll get into a rhythm and you'll start to understand the tasks you should and should not be doing. Some of the bigger jobs that I do now is like the support work that we had for clients. Our developer VA would handle those there, including communication with clients. So they would communicate with clients. Clients would communicate with a support channel, and they would manage that whole side of things. When I was managing that, that would take up my entire day. Even though I wasn't doing the work, that would take up my entire day just triaging tasks out. So it's an inefficient use of my time, and it really didn't serve clients well as well, because I'd miss things as well too. They handle all that, so I can focus on what's next in the business. Okay, so you need to work out your business and getting that ready. Next thing is your virtual assistants, and you need to look at what sort of skills you want in your virtual assistants. It's not so important that they know particular apps that you use. It's better to hire for attitude and experience. So you don't want someone that's green and brand new to being a virtual assistant. You want someone that's got some sort of experience there. As I say, most of them are graduates, so they've got that sort of discipline of having studied. But more than anything is you want people that are committed and have got are eager to learn and are sort of happy to communicate with you as well. Now you will find that some VAs are going to be a bit shy to start with. It's just normal. You need to coax that along, and you're the leader. So hiring VAs is more about leadership than it is about anything else, in that you can't expect them to know what to do. You need to provide a leadership role to work out what they need training in, and how you can most help them. So as I say, using screen capture or video is a really good way of doing things. So if you've got tasks that you do on your computer, video it and talk about it as you're doing it. So you can use something like CloudUp or Loom. Both of those are apps that you can use for videoing. If you're the other thing too is turn the camera onto your face rather than just sending an email. Turn the camera onto your face and speak into the camera. That's far better than sending emails sometimes, because it's easy to speak and easier to understand than it is just to type. And I know that I've prepared long briefs for virtual assistants, and it still goes wrong, and that's because I haven't really been able to communicate as effectively in writing as I can spoken word. The next best thing, or probably better than that, is to have a conversation, a two-way conversation. So use tools like Zoom. Like video conferences today are just so easy. You've got Zoom, you've got Skype, you've got Slack, and just have normal conversations. That works really well. We have a Monday morning meeting which we've recently implemented. Every Monday at 2 o'clock we have an hour's meeting where we check out what did we do last week, what have we got coming up, what are the tasks and responsibilities we can do, and we'll go through ClickUp. We use ClickUp as a project management tool. I saw that in the chat there. So you need to use something like ClickUp or Asana or Teamwork, or one of those project management tools where you can keep track of jobs, and you can also put recurring jobs into it as well too. But that doesn't replace a conversation. Have a meeting once a week with your team. And so what you've got is there'll be areas in your business that you'd like to outsource. There'll be areas of competence that your virtual assistants can do. Where they cross over, they're your easy wins. They're your quick wins. So work out where your quick wins are. That's where you start with your virtual assistant. The next thing is that the third thing, which is really critical and important, are those tools, applications, and equipment that you're going to use. So those are things like ClickUp, Slack, Skype, Loom, all of those tools that you can use. There are a suite of tools that are really going to help you with managing your team and for communication. And you may already use some of those together, so they may be your current systems and current automations. Probably the simplest one is everybody uses email. That's just a tool. communication tool. If you, I would recommend if you're using email that you consider Office 365 or G Suite. I'm a G Suite user because they've got, it's not just email, but you can share documents, collaborate on documents. So things like spreadsheets and Word and like Word documents, but the Google version of it, you can actually collaborate and share in real time and develop those sort of things together. So working at your tool set is going to be really important. So your virtual assistant will also have some competence in particular tools and things as well too. So so work out what they're good at, and so once you know what the things that they're familiar with using, if you're using other tools and applications, then you can train them in that later on. But just work with what they know right now. Don't just introduce a whole lot of things all at once. Work with what they're already good at and what they know. So if they're not really competent in WordPress, don't get them building WordPress websites. So if that's what you want, you need to advertise for that. So that's your first layer. You've got your business, you've got your virtual assistant, you've got your tools and applications. In the middle of that is the sweet spot where you get the most leverage in your business, where everything works well. You're happy, virtual assistants are happy because they're working in their area of expertise, and you've got tools that really support the business. Then the next layer around all that is, and this is your job here, is you need to create systems and processes. You have to develop systems and processes. Now, system and process is something that is written, so it includes video, it includes a step-by-step process, and it's something you can hand over to someone else without explanation, and they can work through the steps and they can follow it. Now, I have to say that there's an expression out there that if you've got a job to do the job and create a system as you go, it'll take you twice as long. That is incorrect. It's going to take you 5 times as long. So expect to invest a fair amount of time creating your systems and processes. So so the way that we do it in our organisation here is that I'll use CloudUp, which is a screen recording software, and I record what I do, I speak about what I do. Then I send that over to generally Lorena, who will then go and transcribe it. And well, she doesn't transcribe it; she turns it into steps. So she turns it into a step-by-step process, sends that back to me. Then I can run through it, and anything that's missing, I'll add those in, and then we can send it back to the idealist would be to give that to JM to follow, because then that's a control there. So if he can follow it through, we know we've got a good system. Then we load that up onto our systems and procedures website. So we've got a website for systems and procedures, and we put that into there. So that it's a reference there for people to go and find at any time they need to do a task, or if we bring a new VA on, there's a system and process already there that they can follow that's tried and tested and able to be used. Next thing is your recruiting and hiring process. So that comes down there. So you need to have some systems and processes in place. So even if it's just checking your email, create a video on how you do your triaging your email. So I did that for our support emails, running through our videoing our emails, how I reply to it, what I do with people, running through our Asana, which is what we were using at the time as a project management tool, just really sort of explaining exactly what I did with the whole thing. So pick a task that you do every day, video it so that at least you've got something that someone can follow. Your recruiting and hiring process is really important, and remember you're hiring for attitude as well as the skills. So look at the base core skills that you're hiring for, and but then when you are recruiting, make sure you have a conversation with them. So interview them on Zoom, so that you can see them and you can have a conversation. You'll find that some of them are quite shy. Don't worry about that too much. You're just looking for their attitude and their sort of, do they look like someone that's going to be committed, or do they look like sort of a fly-by-nighter just looking for a job or needing a job? So so that's really important. I'd like to say more about that at the moment, about how you do that, but we haven't got time for that at the moment. The next thing is once you've got your virtual assistants, think about training and education for them. So don't just throw jobs at them and tasks at them to do and that's it. Think about how you're going to develop them. This is a career. How are you going to develop their career so that they can help you in the business, so you can step out further and they can take more responsibility for the business and tasks. So I can tell you right now that JM and Lorena are doing things that I've never done before, and they're developing systems and processes that I've not developed. So they're doing that sort of thing there, and if I needed to like if one of them left, I'd be shot. So don't leave. But I would have to go back to their systems and processes to learn what they do. So that's when you know you've got success with your virtual assistants, is that they're starting to develop that sort of thing. Best thing I ever did was to go to the Philippines. I've visited the Philippines on a few occasions. Absolute best thing that I could have done. When COVID hit this year, that was my next trip over there, and the one person I haven't met in person is JM, and I was looking forward to meeting him then, but that'll just have to wait until we can travel again. But it's a really good thing to do, because what you do when you meet them, and you can sort of do that on Zoom these days, is work through getting input on the growth of the business. Get their opinions on how to do it, and build it as a team. So build your business collaboratively, not just you as the boss giving instructions, but build it as a collaboration that everybody's involved in. If your team are involved in building the business, they'll be as committed as you are to it, and they will sort of really work towards the success of it. All of the like I'm a avid webinar attender and course buyer, so I've probably spent about 10 grand in courses over the past 6 months, and so my team get access to all of that as well too. So so they've got carte blanche to go through everything that's in there. If they want to go and build their own sort of courses or do what they want to do, go for their life. But you know, if they know as much as I do, then they're going to contribute to the business as much as I can, if not more than I can as well too. So that's sort of what it looks like. The idea of it is those three circles that you've got, when you first start out, those three circles will be quite far apart, and the piece that's that leverage business will be quite small. But as your systems develop, as you develop more systems, as you get your VAs have got more experience, and as you work more closely together, then those circles will start to converge, so that leverage business area in the middle will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And what that means is that as that gets bigger, then you can step out of the business a lot more and focus on Friday, go and play golf, or and you can focus on developing new programs and your development. So my days these days, a lot of my days are in development, thinking about new programs and new things we can do to better serve our clients. So either the other thing that happens is that obviously those circles enlarge as well too, because you know, your business is going to grow, so that circle is going to grow, and the more your virtual assistants are doing, that's going to grow as well. And I saw in chat here someone talking about tools and applications and things, that it becomes really expensive. You're going to spend more and more money on that sort of stuff. That's okay as long as it's you know, in check with your business growing. So if your revenue's growing, then you can afford to spend more time, more money on some of those tools and equipment that are going to speed things up and automate things more. And your virtual assistants are going to grow too. Both your team's going to grow and your and their experience is going to grow. So so really that's the blueprint to you know, having a successful business where you're working with VAs. Now, know that this has really just touched on a whole lot of points, really sort of really quickly. Lots of questions sort of coming through as well too, which I wish I could answer. But what I would like to do is let me just. Oh, I've just got 7 steps that I'll run through. I'll just list them out here really quickly so you can see it. These are your things. First thing is you need to work out why you want to outsource. Then it's what you're going to outsource. Develop systems and processes is absolutely critical. Then you need to think about the tools and apps that you're using at the moment. So really the ones you're using at the moment, and then think about, you know, what you could use to make the business better, easier, and communication better. define all the roles and responsibilities. Have an org chart in your business. So, you know, you're the boss or you're the CEO, whatever. Have an org chart of roles, not of people, but of roles. And then, so the roles might be social media marketing, graphic design, website maintenance, customer service, if you're running events, event organisation, and then you put people's names into those roles. So you're not looking for an org chart which is like positional, which is CEO, vice president, manager, that sort of thing. It's not that sort of org chart. It's an org chart of roles and then putting people in it. If you do that, that'll make things really clear for you, and it'll make it clear for them, and everybody knows where they sit and what the responsibilities are. And you'll find that the same names will go in different roles as well. Then you go, so once you've done some of that there, done those 5 steps, that's when you're ready to recruit, hire and onboard. And your onboarding is really your sort of, your training systems and getting them to understand your business and you to understand them. And then from there, it's an ongoing process of training, development, and setting KPIs, key performance indicators. How do you know they're doing a good job? How do they know that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing as well too? So make sure you've got some way of measuring it. All right, so we'll just come back to questions. I would like to say though that one of the reasons why we're talking about this today is that I've had so many people ask me about how it is that I've been able to run my business, successfully with a number of VAs that I've got. It's been a long process to get there. I've made a lot of, the early days were not without mistakes and issues. But the last 4 to 5 years have really we've got a good system we've put together that really works well. So at the moment, I'm really just wanting to gauge some interest there from people who are thinking about getting a VA or wanting to expand their business into VAs. If you're interested in that, and at the moment, I'm just putting together a program to help businesses who are in that sort of process at the moment. So it's not a program at the moment. If there's no interest in it, we're not going to deliver it. But if you are interested, then go to that URL that's on the screen. I think it's in chat at the moment, and just register your expression of interest to let me know that you're interested. It's not a commitment to say that you're going to be there or whatever, or you're going to buy anything. It's really just to get some form expression of interest. From that there, I'll probably come back to you and ask you some questions about what it is that you're looking for, just to get some sort of clarity around it. And then from there, we'll see whether there's enough interest to run some sort of program. So that's a whistle-stop tour of VAs. Any questions? Any other questions? Let me just unshare my screen. Okay. All right. Anyone got any questions there at all? Okay, interested in the VA program? Thanks, John. Just duck along to that link there, and all we just need is your name and email address so I can contact you. Okay. All right. Well, if there are any questions, look, feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer. And you can either sort of email me or drop them into Business Owners Smashing Online. Give me a call. And if you are interested, just go and fill out that. Just let me know on that page there with that link that I posted. Okay, Donna, you have a question? Yes,
I do. So from my experiences, what I found is that the VAs were not capable of doing a lot of the work, even though they said they were. And then the ones that were capable and that were actually very clever, for want of a better word, came back to me after a couple of months and said, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do. So they decided to make the rules. So I finally had a lady that was sort of very clever, very intelligent, and she used that. So my question is, how do you know when you're talking to them? Because it doesn't matter where you are in the world, everybody's keen when they're being interviewed for a job they want.
Absolutely.
So how do you find and work out which ones are sincere? Obviously, the Rainer is sincere, and the ones that are not.
It's and look, whether it's here or whether it's anywhere else, then yeah, it's the same issue. But look, one of the things you can do, and I have done this before, is you can hire. So you go through your process of interviewing. And remember, your interview process is not just about what they've written about what they do, but you just really need to ask some questions to find out more about them and to get a sense of who they are. So one of the common ways is sometimes, if people are applying and they need to have attention to detail, or you need to know sort of whether they can actually do something, is put a question in the job advertisement that you put out about it. So you might say, look, partway through, you might say, you could even just do something like, tell us your favourite colour. What's your favourite colour? And so so if they don't, and you've got to let them know they've got to reply, letting you know what their favourite colour is. If they don't reply with that, they haven't really got attention to detail. They haven't really read the job description, and so they're probably not going to be a good fit for you anyway because they haven't read it. So someone that's read it is going to come back with that. So weird request, but they'll come back and give you that answer. Sorry, Stephen?
Sorry, if we're doing.
Right.
Looking for someone who might ask the question. Now, if that person tells you, I'll wake up just in the detail.
Well, your audio there, Stephen, is not so great. You're obviously breaking up there on the NBN. So maybe you can just it's probably too long to put into chat, but I think,
internet.
Yeah. But yeah, those questions in there are important. But the other thing to do is have a conversation about about their family as well. So find out a bit more about their family. Like over in the Philippines, family is more important than it is over here. So that'll give you a sense of where things are at for them. So like you really want to work out, are they going to be around when you need them, or are they not going to be around because they've got other family commitments? So they might not tell you that, but you've just got to work through that with some questions. The other thing you can do is you hire the best 3 people for a month's trial. So you hire the best 3 people and let them know that you've hired 3 people. It is a trial. It's not a free trial, it's a paid trial, so you pay them for the trial, and let them know that you're going to choose the best one out of it at the end of it. You've only got one position, you're going to choose the best. So pretty quickly, those that are not that committed or not that interested, they're going to drop out, so they'll drop out early. And at the end of it, you'll get a real feel for who's actually committed to the role, because there'll be one person there that does more than what's expected, that shows initiative and is thinking, and has got the right sort of attributes and attitude they're displaying. So that's probably the person you're going to hire. The difficulty is going to be if you find 2 of them are both really good, you've got to choose between one of them, or you hire them both.
Yeah.
So so that problem. So you've just got a problem, with that there. But that's probably a better problem to have than a poor performer.
The other
The
question
thing to
I have
think about.
is
So Donna, yep.
just quickly is that time thing. So basically, they work when you work. They're employed as opposed to contracted.
So you set the rules with them. So so if you need them there at 8 o'clock when you start work, that becomes part of the rules of the contract. But that's a thing that you can negotiate.
Oh, good, because I got told that you just don't do that with them, with your VAs. They always decide when they're going to work, and I just thought, well, that doesn't make sense. If you're employed, you're employed.
Yeah, well, look, it's a business. You're running a business, so you've got to work out what's going to be best for your business. They need to work out what's going to be best for their business, because they're running their business as a VA, and come to a mutual agreement. If it's not going to work, then you're not going to be working together.
Right.
So yeah, so look, look, I know of some VA agencies. They require their people to work in Australian hours, so their people turn up to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. But the flip side of it is they get to go home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So so the swings and roundabouts as well, but it really just is communication and negotiating it. The other thing too, if you want to, the best way to get someone who's going to be reasonably good to start with, go through an agency.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go through an agency, they've done all the vetting beforehand, and they've gone through that whole process. So what you get presented with are the shortlist, and so you're more likely to get success with someone on there. You'll pay twice as much going through an agency, but it's still far less than what you'll pay here. But it will give you a better experience to start with, and then once you've been through an agency. And you've got some experience about how, what to look out for and how to recruit, then you can go directly to the jobs market and go through the recruitment process. But most of the time, I've been through agencies. It's just so much easier.
So really, what I'm hearing you say is it's just like, with a few exceptions, it's just like hiring a local employee. You've got the same problems, people fake CVs, people fake degrees in local offices. There's, some people trick the system, try to cheat the system. Other people are very honest and work really hard. And you're going to get that whether you're talking a virtual assistant or somebody working locally with you. It's really all quite a bit the same. There's, some bonuses in that they are in a different economy. So you're getting the economy of scale. You're getting you're getting the foreign exchange change, which we're able to take advantage of because the Australian dollar has a higher value than the Philippines, for example. But I knew some people I knew some people from India who they worked for companies, large companies that would hire them so that they could pay them that lower amount, but they're still complete employees just following the local law for the country.
Yeah, so there's no difference between employing here and employing there in terms of how you work. And I'd make the distinction too that you've got outsourcing is not the same as hiring a VA or getting a VA team. Outsourcing is like a contractor. So generally outsourcing is going to somewhere like Upwork or Fiverr for specific jobs and for specific projects that are sort of for a defined period of time. So that's outsourcing. VA is more like an employment contract where you're employing staff to work in your business, and the two are quite different. And so I do see sometimes people outsourcing stuff that they should be hiring a VA for, and hiring a VA for the stuff they should outsource. And probably the best example is if you're building a website for your business, that's probably not a task you're going to hire a VA for, because that's for most it's a short-term project over sort of 4 to 6 weeks to do that, and then once it's over, then they're finished. That would be something that you would outsource to someone. Whereas if you're doing something like your social media, so if someone is managing your social media, that there's an ongoing relationship, an ongoing task that requires ongoing skill development and sort of knowledge of your social media profiles, then that would be sort of hiring an in-house VA for it, and you certainly wouldn't outsource that to anybody else. All right. Jeff says, good point. So Jeff Field, he says that Sunday's a family day. So you're going to find it really hard to get someone in the Philippines to come and work for you on Sundays. The Philippines is quite a religious nation in the sense it's a Catholic nation, and so church plays a fairly important role for a lot of people over there. Sunday's church day, family day, and that sort of thing. So if you need your team to be working on the weekends. You need to be upfront about that, so that they're sort of prepared to do it. But you're going to have a harder job trying to get people to. Probably okay at the moment because it's during COVID, everyone's sort of locked in at home. I think sort of JM sort of is in lockdown at the moment, aren't you? Yeah, so their district has gone to lockdown, but just in general terms, you just need to be aware of that. And also the other thing too is family is more important than anything else over in the Philippines. So if it's a conflict between family or working for you, family's going to win pretty much every time. So so you just need to respect that and be aware of that as well too. All right, well, look, that's probably about all we've got time for. We've really sort of pushed ourselves out to 8 o'clock. So hopefully that was helpful for you. As I say, it really just sort of scratched the surface of the whole process of working with VAs, getting a VA and developing it. If it's something that's of interest for you to explore further, just let me know by going to the that web page that I put up. Which if maybe Jamie or Lorena, if you can just throw that link into the chat again, just go there if you are interested, and then we'll have a chat further about some possibilities for the future there. All right, that's it for tonight. We have tomorrow. Remember, we've got 10 o'clock tomorrow is office hours. Office hours is on Zoom. It's a no agenda, no presentation, no speaker, coffee chat. So we just hang out and talk about anything to do with online marketing, your websites, your questions you've got. Last week just happened to be about VAs and virtual assistants, which is why we're running this here today. But yeah, if you'd like to come along to that tomorrow, the link is in chat. There's no admission. Just bring a coffee, glass of wine, whatever you drink at 10 o'clock in the morning, and come and join us there. But apart from that, thanks for coming along tonight. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for JM and Lorena for sharing with us tonight as well too. Normally they hover around in the background. And go out and have a great night, and we'll see you hopefully next week or tomorrow. Have a good night.
Thanks, mate.